Let me ask you something real quick. Have you ever walked into a room, said something smart, something valuable, and the room just kept going like you didn't exist? Like your words just dissolved in the air? Or maybe there's that one person. They roll their eyes when you speak. They cut you off mid-sentence. Or they talk to you like you're a child. Like your thoughts, your time, your presence doesn't matter. You ever felt that? Now let me ask you the real question. What do you do when someone doesn't respect you? Not once, not twice, but over and over again. Do you call them out? Do you stay quiet and take it? Do you walk away or fight back? This video is not going to give you surface-level advice like just ignore them or be the bigger person. No, we're going deep. Because when someone disrespects you, it doesn't just hurt your feelings. It messes with your confidence, your peace, your identity. And if you don't learn how to handle it, it'll shape the way you see yourself. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through 5 powerful, real-life tested ways to deal with people who disrespect you, not from a place of ego, but from a place of strength. Each one of these is backed by psychology, real experience, and hard-learned lessons. Stick around because the 5th one, it's the most powerful of them all. Number 1, understand what respect really means. Before we talk about how to respond to disrespect, let's flip the lens for a second. What does it even mean to be respected? Most people think it's about being liked, praised, or followed. But real respect, it's deeper than that. It's when someone sees you as a person of value, someone who can't be played with, pushed around, or dismissed. It's not about fear, it's about weight. When you speak, people feel it. When you walk in, people notice. Now ask yourself this: do people feel your presence, or have you been trained to shrink, to apologize, to tolerate? Because here's the truth: people treat you the way you teach them to treat you. Now, I know you might say, but I'm nice, I don't start trouble, I respect others. And that's great. But being nice doesn't guarantee respect. If your niceness comes at the cost of your boundaries, then it's not respect they're giving you, it's permission to keep walking over you. Ever had a moment when someone crossed the line and you didn't say anything? Then they did it again. And again. Here's the thing, silence teaches. Every time you let something slide, you're training them that it's okay. So if we want to deal with disrespect, the first thing we need to do is stop normalizing it. Catch this. Not every joke is just a joke. Not every accidental insult is an accident. Not every backhanded compliment is harmless. So the first way to deal with disrespect? Name it for yourself. Before you check them, you need to check the pattern. Is this a one-off moment of stress or a personality trait? Are they passive-aggressive or just used to people who never speak up? You've got to call it what it is, because once you name it, you take back power. You stop wondering, am I overthinking this? And you start saying, nope, that was out of line. And listen, that clarity alone, that's step 1 to stopping the cycle. Number 2, the power of silent strength. Let me tell you a secret most people never learn. The loudest person in the room usually has the least power. Real strength, it's quiet, it's calm. It doesn't need to shout because it knows exactly who it is. Now think about this. Have you ever been around someone who didn't say much, but the way they stood, the way they looked, the way they carried themselves, you just felt it? You felt their presence? You watched your words a little more, not out of fear, but out of instinct. That's silent strength. So when someone disrespects you, your first instinct might be to fight back with words, clap back, get loud, prove your point. But what if I told you that the strongest move is not reacting at all? Let me give you a real example. A man I once worked with used to interrupt me every time I spoke in meetings. Didn't matter what the topic was, he'd cut me off, make a joke, or talk over me. I wanted to call him out, embarrass him like he embarrassed me. But instead, I made eye contact. I stayed silent, calm, unbothered. And when he finished, I'd pause, look at the rest of the room, and say, as I was saying, every single time, no anger, no sarcasm, just presence. You know what happened? People started noticing. They started cutting him off, and he eventually backed down. Because nothing exposes weak behavior like strength that doesn't flinch. Your silence can be louder than their disrespect. Now here's what silent strength looks like in practice. Eye contact that doesn't waver. Posture that says, I'm here and I'm not shrinking. A calm tone even when others get heated. A pause that makes people lean in, not tune out. Choosing not to respond when someone wants you to react. And here's the psychology behind it. When you don't react, you remove their power. When you hold silence, people start wondering what you're thinking. And when you stand still, people feel the weight of your presence. So here's the second way to handle people who don't respect you. Stop explaining yourself. Start embodying your worth. Don't try to win them over with words. Let your energy do the talking. Now ask yourself, do you walk into rooms trying to prove yourself? Or do you walk in knowing you belong? Because once you start showing up differently, people start treating you differently. Number 3, set boundaries. Let me say this clearly. You are allowed to draw a line. In fact, if you don't set boundaries, people will draw the lines for you. And most times they'll draw them so wide that you disappear inside them. Let me ask you a tough question. How many times have you said yes to something, knowing deep down you wanted to say no? You didn't want to go to that party. You didn't want to let them borrow money. You didn't want to listen to them vent for the 100th time without ever asking how you were doing. But you said yes anyway, because you didn't want to seem rude. You didn't want conflict. You wanted to be liked. And here's the trap. When you sacrifice your peace for people who don't respect you, you're not being kind. You're being a doormat. I'm not saying you should be cold or cruel, but there's a big difference between kindness and self-betrayal. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman named Amina I used to counsel. She was brilliant, soft-spoken, always helping everyone. One day she told me her friend constantly showed up at her house uninvited, every week unannounced, would stay for hours, complain, gossip, eat her food, make a mess, and leave. I said, "Have you ever told her to stop?" She looked at me like I was crazy. "I don't want her to feel rejected," she said. So I asked her, "And how do you feel when she comes over?" She paused, exhausted, disrespected, used. Here's what I told her, and maybe you need to hear this too. If someone feels hurt because you drew a boundary, they were benefiting from your lack of one. So what did Amina do? The next week, when her friend showed up unannounced, she didn't open the door. She sent a text. "Hey, I'm not available right now. In the future, please text me first before coming by." Simple, direct, respectful. Her friend got angry, called her fake, said she was changing. And that's okay, because when you grow, people will accuse you of changing, but that's only because they can't use you the same way anymore. So let's get practical. Here's how you set boundaries without guilt. 1. Use clear, calm language. You don't need to explain yourself endlessly. Just say, "I'm not available for that. That doesn't work for me. Let's talk when we're both calm." 2. Set consequences, not threats. Don't argue, don't beg, just be clear. If you raise your voice, I'll end the conversation. If you show up without asking, I won't answer the door. 3. Practice holding the line. You will feel guilty at first. That's normal. But guilt isn't always a sign you're doing something wrong. Sometimes it's just your old programming trying to keep you small. Ask yourself, where in your life are you saying yes just to avoid discomfort? Who have you allowed to disrespect you repeatedly because you didn't want to be difficult? Because here's the truth. People will test your boundaries, but the ones who respect you will adjust. Number 4, Let your absence speak louder than words. Let me be blunt. Sometimes the best response is no response at all. You don't need to argue. You don't need to over-explain. You don't even need to block them on every platform with a dramatic speech. You just need to disappear from their reach. Respect is like air. You don't notice it until it's gone. And when your presence is taken away, some people finally realize what they had. Let me ask you this. When was the last time someone disrespected you and you stayed anyway? How many chances have you given to people who took you for granted? Think about this. Would you keep returning to a restaurant that constantly served you spoiled food? Then why keep showing up for people who serve you nothing but pain? I'm not saying you ghost people or avoid accountability, but when someone makes it clear that your presence is not valued, leave. Your absence can say what your words never could. Let me tell you about Marcus. Marcus was a team lead at a company where his manager constantly overlooked him, took credit for his work, spoke over him in meetings, even mocked him in front of others sometimes. Just joking. Marcus tried everything. He spoke up. He asked for meetings. He even toned himself down to avoid triggering his boss's ego. But the disrespect continued until one day he stopped talking. He stopped over-explaining, stopped volunteering ideas, stopped showing up early, stopped trying to impress. He was there, but he wasn't available like before. And guess what happened? At first, no one noticed, but within a few weeks, the team started to fall apart. Because his presence had been holding things together, his absence was louder than his voice had ever been. Eventually, a higher-up noticed and offered Marcus a new position, more money, more respect, all because he stopped pouring into places that didn't value his water. So here's the truth. You don't always need to cut people off. Sometimes you just need to cut off access. Start slow if you need to. Don't respond right away. Don't overshare like you used to. Don't give them emotional energy for free. Here's a question that may sting. What would happen if you stopped being available to the people who don't respect you? Would they chase you? Would they ignore it? Would they finally see your worth, or would they just move on like you were nothing? Either way, you'll learn the truth, and the truth will always set you free. Number 5, reclaim your worth. Let me ask you something personal. When someone disrespects you, not just once, but repeatedly, what story do you start telling yourself? Maybe I deserved it. Maybe I'm just too sensitive. Maybe I'm not good enough for better. Stop. Right there. That voice in your head, that quiet whisper that tells you to settle, to shrink, to tolerate things that are slowly killing your peace. That voice is not truth. That voice is programming. Maybe it came from childhood, a parent who never affirmed you. Maybe it came from a toxic relationship, someone who tore you down little by little. Or maybe it came from life itself, one disappointment after another, until your self-worth faded. But here's the truth you need to hear. Your worth is not determined by how others treat you. It's revealed when you stop letting them. You see, when someone disrespects you, they are showing who they are, not who you are. But when you stay, when you tolerate, when you internalize it, that's when it becomes a reflection of you. Let me share something raw with you. I once had a close friend who always joked at my expense, not just teasing, full-on disrespect. They'd call me names, downplay my achievements, twist my words in front of others, and I'd laugh it off because I thought I was being mature. I thought I was being unbothered. But the truth was, I was afraid that standing up for myself would make me seem insecure, afraid of losing a longtime friend, afraid that maybe, just maybe, they were right. Until one day I looked in the mirror and saw someone tired, not just tired of them, tired of betraying myself to keep the peace. So I pulled away. I didn't announce it. I didn't post about it. I just stopped feeding the connection. And in that space of silence, something unexpected happened. I started to remember who I was. I remembered the version of myself that was confident, loud in spirit, full of joy. The version that didn't walk on eggshells or shrink in people's presence. You know how I found that version again? I did 3 things. 1, I wrote down everything I loved about myself, unapologetically, no filters, no modesty. 2, I reconnected with people who made me feel seen, not just accepted, but celebrated. 3, I forgave myself for all the times I stayed too long, apologized too much, and allowed less than I deserved. That's what reclaiming your worth looks like. It's not about becoming arrogant. It's about remembering you were never less to begin with. So let me leave you with this question. What would your life look like if you only allowed relationships that reflected your true value? Would you speak differently, walk differently, set different standards? Would you finally feel free? You don't need permission to take your worth seriously. You just need to believe it. And the more you believe it, the more the world will have no choice but to follow your lead. Now that you've heard all 5, I want to ask you something real. Which of these hit you the hardest?